Today, I'm talking about Netlify and Next.js. I want to cover what Netlify is, why I've chosen Netlify for some of my Next.js applications, and last, I'm going to use my HostCheck Next.js app to check how well Netlify supports 13 of the most important Next.js features. First off, what is Netlify? Netlify is a platform as a service, or PaaS. What they offer is build, deploy, and a serverless infrastructure for your web applications. And I want to focus in on that serverless infrastructure. They offer this distributed serverless infrastructure. It's going to be more performant and have better scalability compared to self-hosting on a single node instance. And really, that's my biggest recommendation is if you're hosting a Next.js or really any web application, I think having an underlying serverless infrastructure is the way to go. Also, Netlify offers what I've been calling the convenience layer, where they handle your CI/CD, your build, your deployment, and scalability of your application, and just so much more. And I'll cover that more in the reasons why I've chosen Netlify. So I mentioned that Netlify is a platform as a service. Let's just take a peek at their website and see what else they got going on here. So connect everything, build anything. It's a great tagline here. And Netlify is the essential platform for the delivery of exceptional and dynamic web experiences without limitations. So I want to reiterate that Netlify is not just for Next.js, but I do know that they invest a lot of time and work in making sure that they support Next.js. But it's also for your Angular, React, Astro, other applications as well. And something that's been interesting to me is kind of the areas that Netlify is investing in. What we're going to be focusing on, or what I'm focusing on today, is the Netlify Deploy Faster that's on the left-hand side, their front-end cloud. This is what they call Netlify Core. Netlify Core is a front-end cloud solution for developers to build and deploy future-proof digital solutions with modern, composable tooling that works on all modern frameworks. So that's where we're going to be focusing. That's Netlify Core. That's the Netlify original product that they came out with. And what they've expanded to now is this Netlify Connect, or the data layer that you can use for a data unification layer, as well as the visual editor on the right-hand side that they call Netlify Create. So again, I'm just going to be focusing on that Netlify Core area, not looking into these other features of Netlify, because I'm really just looking at how well does it support Next.js and why would you want to choose it for Next.js. What are the reasons why I've chosen Netlify? And really one of the biggest for me is that they have a really great free tier. Alongside Vercel, who also has a great free tier, I've been using both of them to host my applications for free. So maybe if you're starting to get close to being over on one, you can start checking out the other and get another big set of free hosting as well. And now maybe this won't be the case for you. They have a pro tier at $19 a month and then the enterprise plans as well that go into all sorts of different pricing. But what's been really nice for me is just being able to experiment, host my applications. And these are live production applications that people are going to every day. But I'm well within the free tier, so I'm able to not pay for anything on Netlify so far. And the next big thing that's really important is that convenience layer that they give you. Not only do they build and deploy your application, but they offer security, DNS, instant rollbacks, DDoS protection. They have a global CDN, so your application's fast and performant everywhere in the world. And all of these pieces and more are what I've been calling my convenience layer. And I've got an article that I've written a little bit more on this. I'll have it linked to the description below. But this convenience layer just makes it really simple to get up and running in Netlify. And the last reason I'm recommending Netlify is because of their continued investment in supporting Next.js. They've recently released version 5 of the runtime that supports Next.js version 13.5 and up. So if you're on 13.5 or up, you're going to see better support for Next.js features such as like the app router, automatic fine-grained caching, on-demand and time-based revalidation, image optimization, as well as other features. So V4 is still great. It's a great place to be with Next.js on Netlify, but V5 is the continued investment that Netlify is making. And something that has come up in the past of maybe why you might want to avoid Netlify is because they do not have day one support of certain Next.js features. Vercel, the creators and maintainers of Next.js, offer their own hosting, and of course, they're going to be able to support Next.js features the day they come out. Netlify has to play a little bit of catch up to get those features supported, but I found that they do a really great job on trying to get support for those as soon as possible. And I don't know about you, but being on the latest and greatest is nice, but if you're doing production applications, being a little bit lagging behind and looking for the stability might be important to you. So I don't see that as too much of a downside, but it is something to be aware of that Netlify might have a little bit later support for certain Next.js features. And now what I want to do is actually test out Next.js. I want to deploy that Next.js HostCheck application out to Netlify and see how well Next.js is supported inside of Netlify. So I'm in my Netlify dashboard, and what I want to do is add a new site. And so I'm going to import an existing project. Mine's hosted out on GitHub. I've got my GitHub already connected in here. So we have the host check. It should find my application, host check Next.js. That's for me. I'll just say host check, is that available? Yes, it is. I'm going to do the main branch. It's perfect. And I don't want to change anything else. So notice it already found out that this is a Next.js site. So it's going to be using the Next.js runtime. Perfect. Thanks for doing that for me, Netlify. And I'm going to deploy my application. So this will take a few minutes, but it's going to deploy my deploy my application, release it on its global CDN. It's going to do all of the work for me. This is that convenience layer that I really like. It's just kind of easy working with Netlify. Again, I'd say Vercel has a similar developer experience where they really want you to have the clean, fast experience getting your websites up and running. So what we can do is come back when this is finished building and test out how our application works with Next.js. And actually, let me give you a little bit more background on this application I'm deploying. So this is the host check Next.js app. I've got it available on GitHub, so you can change around anything or fork it if you want. Please leave it a star if you find it on GitHub. But what this app is it says individually testing each of Next.js's most important features from Git server-side props, Git's static props, API routes, image optimization, middleware, and more. And this is running in the pages-based architecture, running Next.js 14. So I'm on one of the latest versions of Next.js, but I am using the pages architecture. I do hope to, in the future, build out an app router architecture version of this, but right now I've had time to do pages. And we can see that now it has been deployed. So what I can do is run my automated Cypress tests against this deployment, and it'll tell me whether or not certain features are supported. So let me grab the URL, and I'm going to take this into my Cypress config in VS Code and make sure that we point against and test this URL. In my Cypress config, I no longer want to be testing that VPS. I want to be using my host check on Netlify. So let me open up the Cypress window where we're doing our EDE testing in Chrome. We're going to run all 13 tests here. And we want to make sure that we're pointing at the correct URL in Netlify. Looks like we are. So I'll come back once these tests have finished and we'll see what the results are. The Cypress tests have finished. So let's take a look at what we got. API routes, everything is passing except image optimization. And I looked into these ones a little bit. So my image optimization with Next.js and my image optimization with the Sitecore GSS, which is using Next image underneath, these are failing. But why? Because I don't believe that. Taking a look at our application deployed on Netlify, the image optimization. So if I go here, it's saying that the image is actually larger. And I think this is because my application and how I'm determining images just isn't working quite right. But if I inspect it and I look over here, it might be small, but it's saying it's 77 kilobytes in file size, which is definitely lower than the original 154 and not the 351 that I'm saying. So somehow in my testing, I'm not doing that right. Bummer. That's the first time I've had that come up incorrectly. So I'll look into that. But I do want to say that image optimization is working. So we're seeing 77 here. That is definitely smaller than the original. If we go back and look at the GSS image, 165, it thinks it's doubled its size, when in reality, it's down to 24 kilobytes. That's what's actually being sent to the computer or down to the client. So image optimization is working. But so what I can say is that Netlify has full support for the Pages architecture. It has the most important features of Pages architecture supported inside of Netlify. And that's really why I'm recommending Netlify as a great place. And that's why I choose to host some of my applications, because I've had good experiences on Netlify. And I know that they support the most important Next.js features. I haven't officially tested all of the app router features, but I do have an app router app on Netlify as well that is working and has worked so far without too much difficulty. So I haven't tested it, but I do know that they have app router support as well. But I'll put up all the features on the screen now that I've seen and tested. So these are the 13 most important features of Next.js Pages architecture being tested on Netlify, and we're just seeing them work. API routes, Git server-side props, edge runtime, subpath initialization, image optimization is working, middleware support, configs, rewrites. So I think that Netlify is a great place to be hosting your Next.js applications. If you have other hosting providers that you want tested, let me know. I've tested Azure Static Web Apps, AWS Amplify, Azure App Services. I've hosted on a VPS. One place that I'd like to come up with next and soon is the testing out Firebase. I've heard that they have some Next.js support there, so I want to give that a shot. But with that, I hope you like this content. Please leave it a like if you did, and subscribe so you can keep up with future testing and future things that I'm putting out. Thanks.